You order a steak at a restaurant. Medium rare. When it arrives, you reach for the bottle of A1 on the table. Your friend looks up. That is a $40 ribeye. You are really going to put sauce on it? You pause. The bottle hovers. Suddenly, a simple dinner has become a statement. But here is something that might surprise you. A1 was never created for steak. It started as a sauce for everything: vegetables, fish, leftovers, whatever needed flavor. The connection to beef came a century later, invented by marketing executives chasing post-war America's obsession with grilled meat. The controversy you just felt at that table was engineered. The story begins in 1831 with a man named Henderson William Brand. He worked as personal chef to King George IV of England. Brand developed a dark, savory sauce meant to complement rich foods by cutting through heaviness with acid, sweetness, and spice. Less of a topping, more of a finishing move. In 1862, Brand debuted his creation at the International Exhibition in London. Thousands of visitors sampled his sauce alongside industrial marvels and cultural achievements from dozens of nations. The original name was Brand's International Sauce. At some point after the exhibition, it became A1. The exact reason is murky, but the most common explanation is simple. A1 was British slang for first-rate or top quality. Not a version number, not a secret code, just 19th century marketing speak. The sauce sold well in Britain, then expanded to Canada, then crossed the Atlantic to the United States. For nearly a century, A1 remained what Brand intended: a general-purpose flavor enhancer for any food that needed help. Then, in the 1960s, everything changed. Kraft acquired the brand and made a decision that would define A1 for generations. They rebranded it explicitly as steak sauce. Post-war America loved beef. Backyard grilling was becoming lifestyle. Steak meant success, and A1 became its official companion. Here is the thing nobody tells you. Making A1 involves cooking chemistry that turns simple ingredients into something greater than the sum of its parts. The process starts with tomato puree. Ripe tomatoes arrive at the facility, get washed, crushed, and heated to around 90 degrees Celsius. The heat breaks down cell walls and releases pectin, creating the thick base that gives A1 its body. Distilled vinegar comes next. White vinegar provides the sharp acidity that defines the sauce. Concentration runs around 5% acetic acid. This is what cuts through fat when you pour A1 on a steak. The acid also acts as preservative, extending shelf life to around 2 years. The surprise ingredient is orange puree. Whole oranges get crushed, seeds removed, and blended into paste. The citrus adds subtle sweetness without making the sauce taste like orange. It rounds the vinegar's sharpness and prevents the flavor from becoming one-dimensional. Raisin paste adds depth. Dried grapes get rehydrated, ground, and cooked into concentrated paste. This contributes natural sugars and dark fruit complexity that you cannot identify but would miss if it disappeared. The cooking happens in large stainless steel kettles. All ingredients combine and heat to around 85 degrees Celsius for 30 to 45 minutes. The heat triggers Maillard reactions between sugars and amino acids, creating hundreds of new flavor compounds. This is where A1 develops its characteristic dark color and savory depth. Spices enter during the final cooking stage. Garlic, onion, celery seed get added in precise ratios. The exact formula remains trade secret. After cooking, the sauce passes through a homogenizer at pressures exceeding 140 bar. This creates the smooth, pourable consistency. Quality control checks viscosity and pH levels around 3.5. Bottling happens at 200 bottles per minute. Each bottle receives exactly 283 grams of sauce. The numbers tell a strange story. First, A1 contains 17 primary ingredients. The top 3 by volume are tomato puree, distilled vinegar, and corn syrup. Orange puree ranks 7th. Second, 1 tablespoon contains 280 milligrams of sodium and 3 grams of sugar. Not a health food, but not the villain people make it out to be either. Third, Americans consume over 30 million bottles of A1 annually. That is roughly 1 bottle for every 11 people in the country. Fourth, despite being marketed as steak sauce for 60 years, internal surveys show 40% of A1 users put it on foods other than beef: burgers, pork chops, eggs, even baked potatoes. Here is where the story flips. In 2014, Kraft quietly dropped the word steak from the label. A1 steak sauce became simply A1 sauce. The timing was not random. Beef consumption had declined for decades. Plant-based eating was rising. Tying the brand to steak was becoming a liability. But something else happened. The change acknowledged what brand knew in 1831. A1 was never about steak. It was about making any food taste better. The sauce returned to its original identity after 150 years. What do you tell someone who asks about A1? You tell them this: A1 started as a Victorian finishing sauce created by a royal chef who wanted to cut through rich foods with acid and spice. It crossed the Atlantic, got acquired by Kraft, and was rebranded as steak sauce to ride post-war America's beef obsession. The controversy is not about whether A1 tastes good. It is about whether good steak needs help. The answer depends on who is asking and what they are eating. A $40 dry-aged ribeye probably does not need sauce. A $12 sirloin from the grocery store absolutely might. Next time you reach for that bottle, you are not making a mistake. You are making a choice that a royal chef made 2 centuries ago. Sometimes great food needs a finishing move. Back at the restaurant, you pour the A1. Your friend raises an eyebrow. You shrug. The steak tastes exactly how you wanted it to taste. That is the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there is something you would like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.